Vandis is excited to have Vandis CEO Andy Segal meet with Brian Walsh, Cove Data Protection Evangelist at Enable, to explore the benefits of the Cove Data Protection platform. Their conversation will highlight how its cloud-first approach streamlines backup and disaster recovery, making data protection more efficient and cost-effective. Welcome, Andy and Brian.
Hello, Brian, and
Hey,
thanks for
Andy.
joining me today to discuss Enable's Cove Data Protection Platform.
Awesome. Great to be here.
Well, I'm happy that you're here. Can you tell us a little bit about Cove and how it works?
Absolutely. So, Cove is a direct to cloud or cloud first backup and disaster recovery architecture, entirely appliance free, right? So, it eliminates the need for on premises hardware and the management complexity with a completely SaaS based approach with truly comprehensive support across virtual machines, physical servers, cloud hosted servers like Azure, AWS, workstation endpoints, as well as Microsoft 365. So, really, what we aim to do is take copies of the data, get it off the primary network without any sort of infrastructure intermediary, making it much simpler.
That sounds really clean, but tell me a little bit about what that means for our customers.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, what it means is you're getting these backup copies off the network in the event that you need to restore data, systems, users, right? Because threats are out there and they come in the form of cyber attacks, they come in the form of hardware failures, software bugs. So, recovery is essential, right? So, what we're enabling here is the ability to actually minimize the downtime and reliably restore operations when something happens, right? So backup and recovery sort of go hand in hand because it's really not possible to restore what you haven't backed up. There's SLOs and SLAs on both fronts from both a backup as well as a recovery standpoint.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about Cove backups. Can you explain what an immutable backup is and why that's so important?
Yeah, it's a big buzzword for certain. And data resilience has really been a dominant theme in 2025, and you can even go before 2025. It's certainly been a priority for organizations for a number of years. And really, what it means is it's an element of the resiliency strategy, right? And it's a key pillar because what it means is you're actually creating secure, hardened copies of the data that
Yeah.
cannot be altered, deleted, or modified.
Can you give us a real world example why that's important?
Yeah, I mean, probably the most pressing reason of why it's important is the threat of ransomware exists, right? I don't think anyone's any stranger to ransomware. I actually saw a study earlier this week it was actually from May of this year that said 82% of ransomware attacks targeted organizations with less than 1,000 employees, right? So criminals in the modern era know to go after or prey on the weak, right? And one of their strategies is to go after backup and recovery infrastructure because they know if they get their hands on those sort of jewels, they have organizations dead to rights in terms of their recovery strategy. Like we talked about, they go in concert with one another. So immutable backups are fundamentally essential because these tamper-proof backups really enable you to restore. So it's not just a best practice, it really is a key element of the resiliency strategy. And it's why one of the reasons we see cyber insurers continue to demand that as part of an organization's security tooling, in addition to other tools like multi-factor authentication and endpoint detection and response and patch and vulnerability management, right? So it's a part of that strategy. It fundamentally is a critical part to ensuring reliable restore.
So, speaking of Enable's strategy, I know that Enable acquired Adlumin back last year, and that's how we came to do business with Enable. We were an existing Adlumin reseller.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about how Cove Data Protection complements the Adlumin platform?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like I just said, it is very much a defense in depth or a layered defense strategy that all organizations need to take to best protect their organization, right? So, Adlumin's really that front end proactive protection with real time threat detection, security analytics, with automated response to identify and neutralize threats so that you're protecting your digital perimeter. But at the end of the day, as much as you try to build up that 10-foot security wall, there's a bunch of criminals out there building an 11-foot ladder to breach, right? So you do need that end-to-end resiliency strategy that enables an organization to minimize that downtime, get back to operations, and minimize data loss in that process. And that's really where Cove aims to augment or complement the Adlumin MDR offerings.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it really does seem to bring it all together. We know that protection is the goal, but Brian, what happens when things go wrong?
Yeah, things happen, right? And even the best defenses can be breached. And even beyond that, like failures still happen. Human error exists. Hardware fails. Software has bugs. So even the best defenses can be penetrated or they can fail, right? So what we aim to do is ensure that reliable copy exists so that an organization has the ability or the means by with which to restore, right? So we're really providing that last line of defense, that reliable safety net that when systems are compromised or when they fail, you have a secure, hardened backup that you have the confidence that you can restore from.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a crowded market and kind of everybody makes the same claims. What really sets the Cove Data Protection platform apart from others in the market?
Yeah, to this conversation, it really does start with security, right? So it's that architected by design approach. It's not bolted on, right? So it's that direct to cloud with the off network, isolated, immutable, encrypted copies of the backup that really drives labor efficiency at the end of the day, where you're not having to actually go in and harden all this. So it's built and architected and designed with that secure mindset. It does go beyond that, right? And really what we're aiming to do here is that enterprise grade security without that enterprise headcount requirement.
Sure, and that's really important because security is table stakes. But what else
Sure.
sets Cove apart?
Yeah. So it's really beyond the security, it's really about efficiency and reliability, right? And sort of the core pillar of what this platform was architected and engineered around is that efficiency. So we leverage a proprietary technology we call true delta differencing. And that true delta technology minimizes the amount of data that gets backed up, and ultimately transmitted directly to our cloud. So we're moving 60 times less data than our competitors. And that reduction ultimately it enables faster backups. And when your backups run faster, you can create more recovery points, right? So you run a more frequent backup job that ultimately brings down the recovery point objective, which means you're minimizing the data loss. And then by moving 60 times less data, you consume 60 times less storage. It's that efficiency. It's that direct to cloud that's reducing that labor efficiency. But then it ultimately comes down to what we've been talking about here, which is you back up to restore, right? And you need a reliable recovery mechanism. So we're always ensuring that data is secure and available. And we take it a little bit further than most other platforms in this regard. So we provide our customers biweekly automated recovery testing. Too often we find that folks aren't testing their backups. And they don't test them because they don't have the people, and the people that they do have don't have the time. So we automate that process, giving boot screen verification, great artifact that gets handed over to cyber insurers even without any human intervention. And so the combination of this proactive automated testing and for your more mission critical systems, continuous recovery with our standby image technology, you can maintain business operations in a reliable fashion. So it's that security coupled with the efficiency and the reliability that really does truly set us apart.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And focusing in, as you started out saying about time and people, a lot of this is about economic benefits because even though everybody's very concerned about their security,
Yep.
budgets are tight. Can you talk a little bit more about those economic benefits?
Yeah, and that sort of piggybacks on what I was just saying around the efficiency, right? So there's a labor efficiency part of this equation, right? Because we provide a consolidated platform across servers, VMs, endpoints, and Microsoft 365. It's a unified management console, so bringing a lot of simplicity with nothing to manage, nothing to maintain. So our customers are effectively monitoring, reporting, and doing restores when they need to. So there's a 90% labor savings there, we estimate. But then going beyond that relative soft cost, there's the risk mitigation and the cost avoidance with that automated recovery testing function, as well as the standby image continuous restore, right? So there's a cost avoidance soft cost play there, coupled with some hard costs, because a lot of times this automated recovery testing can reduce insurance premiums from a cyber insurer. But I'd say the biggest cost savings or economic value driver here is the fact that we're moving 60 times less data, right? Because what tends to be the biggest cost in the equation of backup and recovery infrastructure is that underlying storage investment, right? So by moving 60 times less data, we're consuming 60 times less storage. And the way we actually package the solution is the storage is included. So you're not monitoring, you're not managing storage. So typically what we see or what we expect to see is about a 20 to 30% savings from an ROI standpoint on the Cove platform.
So, Brian, what we're learning here is that the Cove platform is really very powerful. But with all that power, why are customers just hearing about Cove Data Protection now?
Yeah, it's a fair question and one we often get. But the reality is Enable's been around for 25 years. This Cove platform has been in the market for the last 14 years. It's just that historically, our route to market was really through managed service providers, which has led to Cove actually protecting over 180,000 small and medium-sized businesses today. So it really is an ideal fit for that mid-market organization, delivering cost-effective, secure, scalable, simple to manage data protection. And by partnering with an organization like yours, Andy, with Vandis, Enable is now able to bring this powerful capability to even more customers, right? Helping them strengthen that resilient strategy, simplifying operations, and ultimately safeguarding what's most important to them outside of their people, which is their data.
Yeah. So, Brian, what you're really saying here is that in addition to being a very powerful platform, that the Cove Data Platform is tried and true. It's proven in the marketplace. That's really important. Brian, thank you
Absolutely.
very much for joining us here today. I really appreciate our conversation.
Yeah, it was great talking with you, Andy. Look forward to talking with you again soon.
All right.